up we have Adrian McEwen, who's going to talk to us a little bit about... Oh, microphone, yes.
That's right, I need to do changing computer over first, so give me a minute or two. I think so.
So while Adrian sets up, I just wanted to share a couple of quick thoughts about the upcoming session, because we're talking more this afternoon, a little bit more about technology and about making. And making was really an inspiration for this festival. And Maker Assembly last year. Maker Assembly is a gathering, a sort of critical gathering of the maker space and maker culture scene in the UK. Is that a fair description?
Yeah, that's a good short one.
A good short one. And we were talking last year about things like local manufacturing, distributed manufacturing, recycling, reuse, the circular economy, and the maker movement in that kind of context. And we found that although a lot of our conversations traditionally in the maker movement are about new things, actually we don't talk much about these ideas of repairing them and sustaining the things we make. We also don't talk very much about sustaining the spaces and support systems that help makers. One of the things that really came up in that last meeting was how many maker spaces have been set up that were going bust or were closing down at that particular time here in the UK. And we felt that was something that was actually worthy of thinking about a little bit more. If we're not sustaining these community workshops which are helping people repair things as well as helping them make new things, what does that say about the state of making? And that was partly an inspiration for today, which is why this afternoon we've got a little bit more on maker spaces, on tools, and on technology, because that was real sort of inspiration to get us going. Anyway, I'll stop bubbling because it looks like Adrian is good to go. So over to Adrian.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you. Thanks for asking me to come and speak today. Hello, everybody. Actually, I should be like, hello, Liverpool, because yes, I'm from just Liverpool, which is a makerspace up in Liverpool, predictably. This is our new space that we've just moved to. So we've got co-working space, co-working desks, and then there's like soldering irons at the back, and heat press and sublimation printer, and like laser cutters through in the room in the corner, and CNC machines through there, and I think actually there are people maintaining and doing maintenance stuff upstairs at the moment. So the event space that would be over that way isn't where everyone is. They've moved next door into one of our neighbours to see the live stream. But yeah, Just Liverpool's a makerspace. We've been running for 7 years, and so yeah, we're a volunteer-run organisation. It's making for the community, so it's paid for by the community to provide facilities for the community. And basically, I think part of the way that we work, how it kind of works well, is that it's run by a bunch of people who don't want to run a makerspace. I think all the better kind of, or maybe just the more sustainable, I'm not totally sure, I think, because they end up with different kind of like costs and kind of business models, I suppose. Kind of hack spaces and maker spaces are often kind of volunteer run, or the ones that seem to thrive seem to be volunteer run. And so, yeah, once we set it up, we didn't want to run a space, we just wanted to use the things that you would find in a space. And there wasn't a space, so we went and made one. And we all have our own businesses as to how we earn a living. But we knew there was going to be a big kind of problem with that. And thankfully, Laura posted this to Instagram ages ago. And it's a great quote that I really like. I think it's PJ O'Rourke quote. And it's true. Like, you can find the people who want to make, like, you know, do amazing things and produce that cool thing that's going to be featured in Hackaday or Adafruit website, or, you know, going to make them the millions as a new startup or whatever. And nobody really wants to do that, kind of like taking the bins out and like making sure that they're in on time to open up properly and fixing things when they break and all that kind of stuff. There's masses and masses of work that goes on to support the people being able to come in, use a laser cutter, make a cool thing, and then take it out into the world. And so we've been very aware of this when we set it up, and we had a kind of, I suppose we've had a couple of goes at trying to kind of establish a culture that would help some of that. And like the first thing we had was a sort of a well-volunteered riposte. So basically, you'd be sat around and somebody should fix such and such a thing, and then of course the instant response to that is well-volunteered. And so that, it kind of worked at first because it meant that people were encouraged to go and fix the thing that they'd noticed being broken. But over time, what actually happened is that a culture built up where nobody ever said somebody should do something or other, because they knew that as soon as they did it, they were going to get the task of actually making it happen. And so that we actually ended up with the kind of a worse situation, because people wouldn't report what needed to be done. And so we wouldn't know what needed to be fixed, because nobody would say somebody should, because they were scared that they were going to get lumbered with it. And so we were trying to find different ways to fix this, and so we tried some online, because we're all a bunch of geeks basically, so we're well versed in the software tools and things like that. So we tried some different online sort of to-do list sort of management software and things like that. And I think there's one at Asana or something we had for a while. But that mostly just seemed to generate lots of emails, because you'd set up like recurring things that needed to be done, and it would send you an email and you wouldn't have gone and ticked it off as having been done, and then it would send you a reminder email and you'd ignore that as well. And mostly it just meant my inbox filled up with these annoying things that were nagging me that didn't help us get anything more done. And similarly, that was only restricted to the kind of organisers, which was it's a sort of a restricted group of the whole community of people who are kind of generally a bit more interested in trying to make sure the space runs well. But it meant that we couldn't get and harness more and more of the community to kind of do stuff. So after a while, I just decided that we should run with kind of the way that I've done things in the past, and because we're sort of software-heavy kind of community, and because I've run projects in the past and used issue trackers to keep track of bugs that we needed to fix and things like that, and because one of our community members was using, and we basically stole this idea off him, on Francis Irving, he had a GitHub repository for his house, and mostly he just used the issue tracker to kind of track things like the bathroom door needs fixing or something like that, and then he could make notes of like, this is the plumber I used to fix such and such, and those kind of things. And so we just stole that pattern and adopted it. And so the DoES Liverpool GitHub account has a somebody should repository, which has no code in it, has a couple of little readme files to try and explain to you what it is when you happen upon it, and mostly it's just a big issue tracker. I mean, it's not perfect because there are quite a lot of people in the community who don't know what GitHub is, and it's this weird, complicated software-y thing that it's just a bit daunting, and actually it's like, just ignore all of that. Just go to this thing that's an issue list, and it's as easy to use as webmail. It's just boxes, you type things into it, you just click new issue and report the new thing that needs to be done. And so in some ways, I think people see that as just being like, it's good, it's a to-do list. It means that we can kind of raise an issue saying, this needs to be fixed. And I think you see this nice issue that we're tracking here of the fact that we need to organise the live stream for this event. And there are more than 9 of the 14 things done now, I think. I can't remember when I took this screenshot. But I was checking my email this morning and seeing lots of little notifications of Alex and Matt and Jackie and people just kind of working out the things they needed to do to get all this up and running and in place. And basically we use it to capture things. It can be all sorts of stuff. It can be things are wrong with the website. It can be things like the laser cutter isn't working right. Things we need to organise for an event. We have labels for different things to try and prioritise stuff. And then what it is, so that all the different tools in the makerspace have their own labels, so you can just go and see all the things that we know that are wrong with Gerald, our gigantic laser cutter. Or Felicity, the Ultimaker 3D printer, or any of the other bits of kit that we have, they've all got their own label, so you can kind of filter stuff and look into it in more ways. And so it seems, I think, a lot of the time with sort of these to-do list apps and things like that, they're all about capturing what needs to be done, and then you tick it off, and then you get like a nice feeling because you ticked it off, but you don't ever think about it ever again. And it's about just crossing things off the list. And there's definitely something that's a really important thing with it. But I think the fact that we're using the issue tracker gives us some additional stuff that you don't normally get from that. And so one of the things that our issue tracker does is it captures knowledge, and we build up a knowledge base. And so we're focusing, it's not perfect, but basically there's a culture, and it's taken a lot of effort. Like, it's the fact that there are a whole bunch of us trying to sort of lead by example and badgering people when they just fix things. Because you get somebody who would say, like, we need to buy more of such and such, like, we need some more coffee filters. And then somebody would just write a comment saying, like, yeah, bought some coffee filters, issue closed, great, that's off the to-do list. And then I'd reopen it and be like, which coffee filters did you buy? Where did you get them from? Put a link in here. And annoy them at first. And then after a while, they kind of got into the habit that basically you say things like, okay, we've ordered this, and this is the one that I've ordered, and then you get, it's been fitted, and the issue gets closed. And so basically it's just like, trying to make it as easy as possible to capture the information when you're doing it. So you've just been on the website to order the new thing. It's quite easy at that point just to cut and paste that URL into a comment on the issue, and then it gets closed, and it mostly kind of goes away, and it's like in this big jumble of closed issues that yes, you have to go and sift through, but it didn't really cost you anything to capture that bit of information. And then when you next need to order one of those things, you've got a couple of clues, like you'll know that it's the 3D printers in this case, so you'll go and find the 3D printer label, and then you'll look at the closed issues, and you might have to hunt around a little bit to find the issue that was like, this is where we recorded, where we got these things from. But the information's there to be gathered, and yes, it's a bit of work, but hopefully you're willing to put that work in because you're trying to find where you need to buy the thing from to kind of get things through. And so it just captures that sort of knowledge. I mean, the other thing it does is it captures the history of the community. So somebody raised an issue saying like, oh, we haven't got comments on the website, we should open comments. And then so that was what the issue said kind of higher up. And then we closed it with a, no, we're not going to do that. And here's a link to issue 222, which was the issue that said we should remove comments from our website. Because basically we were never checking them, and people were asking us questions, and they were never getting a response. And so we were like, we just shouldn't have comments. And then they'll find the hello@Liverpool email and email us, and that will be fine. And we can kind of start to use that tool and build things upon it. So the broken label is a sort of like a magic special label that you can assign to an issue when you create it, or at any point during the issue's life, which basically means that hooks into the status system. So if you go to status.doesliverpool.com and there's the laser cutter has the broken label, it will say this is out of action. Like, there'll be other things that are kind of issues raised against it that aren't kind of a problem yet. Like, you can still use the machine, but we can kind of do doing something to it. And this is like, no, the machine's out of action, and then like the label gets removed when enough of it gets fixed, so the system kind of can show you what you're doing. And the other thing we wanted to do was make it more visible as to what who in the community was doing this work. And so we have a system of week notes. So there's a blog post every week of like interesting stuff that's happened in the space. And people do that just by adding hash week notes to their tweet that they're going to send about this cool thing that they're doing anyway. So it's a really simple way for them to just kind of communicate what they've been up to. And then we added to that, we hooked into the GitHub API, and so we can pull out a list of like, here are the new problems that we found that need to be fixed. Here are the things that we fixed. This is cool. And then at the bottom, you can just kind of see the list of the people, because we pull out the list of the GitHub users to be like, these are the people who helped your space keep up and running. Like, you should, basically, you should thank them, or just, we want to big them up to make it more visible, the kind of work that's involved in maintaining a space and keeping it going. And so with that in mind, I pulled down a list of all of the people who have closed issues in the Does Liverpool Somebody Should GitHub account. and just gathered them all together here because I figured that this is the perfect place that I should thank them all publicly for kind of helping to keep Does Liverpool going and fixing, I think it's like 663 issues have been closed over the, I mean, we haven't been running the system for the whole 7 years we've been running, but yeah, all of these people kind of mean that we can continue to do epic shit in Liverpool and kind of do really cool stuff. And yeah. One thing actually, just to kind of jump, so the Gorilla Groundsman talk, like he's actually going and doing stuff, and we've got this pattern of somebody should issues that I'm trying to kind of build as a culture within the Does Liverpool community, and then I kind of wondered what it would be like to do that in just a wider community. So instead of being a Gorilla Groundsman, I've just got a Liverpool somebody should. Like Liverpool has a game account now, because I thought, well, we should just have, I can make one. Isn't this great? And then, I could just, and I mostly just use it, we haven't fixed many, as you see, there's only 4 issues have been closed. It's not used, it's not very active yet, it hasn't really taken off. But it's just a way of kind of starting to do some of that. What should we do as a city? And we have had some influence. So some people in the council have been kind of keeping an eye on it, which is kind of interesting. There was one thing where we were like, we should have a mini roundabout on this junction just by DoES, and I was chatting to one of the people who works at the council, and he was like, I went and found out how much that was going to be, because I thought we should maybe just do it to try and encourage more people to be reporting these things and talking about this sort of stuff. And he's like, I went and talked to the highways people, and apparently it's going to be like 50 grand or something. I can't remember what it was now. It was actually, I could go and look. I think it was it's one of the closed issues. Junction Highway String Growers. It's confusing. So there we go, yes. Oh, £150,000 it was going to cost to fix it. And his discretionary budget would not run to that. So it was like, okay, fair enough. But I figured that at least, that's cool. We can mark it off and be like, this is the thing, and we know how much it costs, and it probably isn't worth £150,000 of our money to go and put a mini roundabout in that junction. So, there we go. Thank you very much.